are. Hi, everyone.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Welcome to the live show.
Kind of like our Easter show, eh? Kind of like what Candace has done on the set. We got flowers, we got little chicks, like chick, 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 chick.
This actually went in Trogo's hair.
Yeah, Trogo's hair. You know, somewhat. We try to keep a theme going alive on our live show for sure. So. Why don't we get right into it? Because I think we have a lot of stuff to cover off, right?
A lot of news that happened over last month.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. But before we get going, I think people should know how to get a hold of us, right?
Of course. As usual, you know, this is YouTube. We want to hear from you, so please leave comments, questions in the chat here on YouTube, or again, there's also Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We want to contact us directly.
Yep.
We're here. Candace, our social media director, is in the back, monitoring what is happening and letting us know.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we call it, I say this every show, that's why we call it YouTube, because it's all about you, right? So getting involved in everything that we're going to be sharing today, we also store it on our YouTube channel, right? So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, right, is the big message. Yeah, for sure. So why don't we get into it? What do we got first?
First is our first topic, which we normally do, is our White Hatter update.
Yeah.
And first thing we want to talk about is we have 2 blog posts out we did since the last show.
Yeah, and the reason I asked this question is we've been reading lots, right? There's lots of stuff out there that I've been reading in journals online about kids and cell phones in bedrooms and how much of an epidemic level it is and that kind of stuff. So we thought, well, why don't we ask the experts, right? The experts are the teens themselves. So that's what we did. We went and we asked the experts, the kids, and good on Candace, our director of social media and logistics. What she did was she created a questionnaire that we put out onto Instagram, and we had some really interesting replies.
Yeah, we had about out of the 6,700 plus followers on Instagram, we had about over 700 respond.
Pretty good response.
Pretty good response.
Oh, yeah.
To our survey asking about, what happens with your phone when you sleep.
Yeah, in the bedrooms. What are you doing with them? Well, they had some answers, right?
Yeah, actually, our White Hatter Hervé has made us a wonderful infographic that you may have seen on social media. We've been posting on social media, and here it is. And
God, Hervé did a good job on that, right?
He did a fantastic job.
I mean, that's his talent. His talent is in design and stuff. I mean, he's really good at what he does on this kind of stuff. So what were some of the results we got?
So out of the people who responded on Instagram, we had about, do you sleep with your phone in your bedroom? About 78% of people said, yes, they do.
Doesn't surprise me, right?
Not surprising.
In fact, I actually thought that might be a little bit higher than that, to be quite honest. I thought we were going to be closer to 100%, but it doesn't surprise me that a lot of our kids, a lot of preteen teens, even adults, sleep with the phones in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
Right?
And then we asked, do you answer messages on your phone that come in during the night? And about 27% of people said that, yes, they do.
Yes, they do. But 73% said they know.
No, they don't.
Where they answer questions, right? Where maybe somebody's texting them a message and all of a sudden they get that ding happening on the phone. Right? And that one kind of surprised me. I thought that would be higher because we're all being told how often these kids are doing things on their phones in their bedrooms, right? While they're sleeping and stuff. So that one kind of surprised me to say that, maybe not happening as much as it was, right? But the next one was interesting.
Do you text at night in your bedroom with your cell phone? And about 46% said yes, and about 54% said no. So about roughly half and half say.
So isn't that one interesting? Because, 73% said no, they don't answer messages that are coming into them, but 46% said they actually send out messages, right? Which was kind of interesting, right? And what was the next question we had?
Next one, let me just move the screen here. Bloop. Here's just some rough extra data. Where do you keep your phone when you sleep? So a couple of people, most people said bedside table or surface near the bed. Others said on the side of the room, on the shelf or desk. Then some people said another part of the house, including the family room, and that was about 26% of people.
Yeah, you know what? These numbers, I think, don't surprise me. I mean, if the youth are bringing the phones into the rooms, they're probably going to have it close by, right? So that they're within arm's reach, either to send a message, 46% of the time, or to receive and answer a message, which is much lower. But, a couple of concerns, with this is that, that there's no doubt that the use of cell phones at night can interfere with a good night's sleep, right?
Yeah, and I think that's mostly what we're trying to get at with these questions. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unreasonable that people go to sleep with their phones.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like a third appendage to us, right?
They are, especially to your generation and your millennials and the Generation Zs that we
Yeah.
speak to and stuff, right? But I think it's getting them to understand that the negative effects that distraction at night has on the sleep cycle, right? Because it's so important that young people get enough sleep. And one of the things that we've been hearing anecdotally from teachers and educators right across Canada and the United States is how many kids are coming to school and they're coming to school tired, right? Because they're vamping on these phones to all hours of the night, right? And so that is a concern, right?
And I think it's also a concern throughout an entire lifespan. So, I mean, a lot of time we hear in media, kids, phones, sleep, right? And yes, obviously, but what about working professionals, professional
sure.
sports players who again, with these devices for me, I'll admit, sometimes I can get sucked into the world of TikTok.
all the time.
Not all the time, but sometimes, like I can just like all night just scroll through TikToks, and
Yeah.
but then I wake up the next day and I'm tired.
Or play World of Tanks like I do, right? I mean, I get it, right? But I mean, I do think that there's some really good research, and until we get some more research coming in, but it's kind of showing us that there's no doubt that if you're not getting a good night's sleep, it can have dire effects on attention the next day, and that can have some negative
Performance
effects.
as well.
Yeah, and it can have some negative effects on learning as well. So the other concern on that was how many of the kids said that they slept with their cell phones under their pillows, and it is we posted on Facebook probably this time last year a number of pictures where these phones were overheating under pillows and causing fires. Right, and some students and young people and even a couple of adults were burnt as a result of that, right? So something to think about, right?
And I mean, that was more so in regards to the Samsung battery issues.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most manufacturers now have fixed most of the battery issues because they've learned from those issues.
Yeah.
But again, there still is that problem of heat and.
Yeah, and do you want to be sleeping with that thing as close to your head as, it's interesting to see where some of that research is going, right? They're still early in the stages, but again, I mean, it didn't surprise me with respect to the numbers, but it was nice to get some of those numbers from the experts, right?
Yeah.
Because that's, the preteens and teens, they're the experts, they're the ones using this
Certainly.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
it was some interesting data for sure.
I agree. I mean, it's not like this is like true scientific
No,
data.
not at all.
But I mean, comparing this to what scientific data is finding, we're seeing pretty similar responses.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
It's good to see that what scientific data has been talking about 3 years ago is still kind of relevant today.
Yeah, and we actually recommend that especially younger kids, teens, preteens, that they really shouldn't be allowed to have their cell phones in their bedrooms, right? Because again, they can become very distractive. And sometimes when kids are using these devices in the privacy of their home at night, that's where some of the bad things can happen. Because there's no doubt that when I was involved in law enforcement, when I got involved because somebody was doing something they shouldn't be doing, especially a preteen or teen, it usually looked like teen in their bedroom at night, cell phone unsupervised, right? So I mean, it's another reason why we should really be keeping our phones out of the bedrooms. And it was interesting to see that there was a significant cohort of young people who said that they don't even keep their phones in their bedrooms because they themselves have recognized some of the issues. And it's not just the parents, but they themselves are starting to recognize that it can have somewhat of a negative outcome on performance the next day. Right?
Certainly.
Yeah. I know that you wrote a really good article. As a company.
Yes.
We really take what we call a harm reduction approach to the issue of sexting and what's going on here in Canada and around the world and that kind of stuff. And, one of the things, coming from your background, which is academia, your master's degree and stuff, which again, congratulations on that. But one of the things that you noticed was that this word sexting has all kinds of different meanings.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we face is that when we're talking about human sexuality online,
Which includes teens.
Includes teens,
Not just the
adults,
adults, right?
includes
Yeah.
everyone.
Right.
Is that because it's becoming a new phenomenon that a lot of people are using these words, but they're not clearly describing what these words mean.
Is it a new phenomenon or is it just a different way of doing it? I mean, a good example, when I was in high school, we used these things called Polaroids, right?
Yeah. So I think let me reframe that. It's more so it's become more greater attention.
Okay.
It's we have more greater social attention to the topic itself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
For various reasons. So I wrote up a quick blog post earlier this
it's a
month.
good blog post, actually.
Kind of taking what we experience in the community and from what I've read in academic research, and kind of combining this all together to kind of make some really clear definitions.
Which is
about-
important.
It is important in terms of what like the word sexting, the word nudes, the word distribution of intimate images. I'm not going to get into all that right now. It's on the blog, and you can read it, and it gives clear definitions to what all these words mean. And I think it's really important because just because, to make a quick distinction here, people often use the word sexting to explicitly describe sending nudes.
Adults usually do.
Usually.
Kids aren't using the word sex.
It depends on who it is. And you know what? Sexting is more so used as a global term to talk about sending intimate or sexual messages through technology. It might involve nudes, it might not involve nudes, it might involve sending nude. So when you're talking about nudes explicitly, just saying nudes, that clearly describes what it is. It's just a nude image.
And, it's like we've always preached, knowledge and the understanding and application of that knowledge is power. And if we as parents are going to be talking about this, then we should be doing it from an educational standpoint. And that's what this article is all about. It's about, kind of making things a little bit more clear about terminology and what it means, because this is important for parents when they decide to go and have an interaction with their kids about this stuff. Because, we've been saying for years now that if parents don't start having open and honest conversations with their kids about the difference between healthy human sexuality and pornography, we're leaving it to the porn industry to do it for us, right? And so, this issue of sexting, one of the things that we see a lot is that there's some good reasons why some young people will sext, right? Like there really is, and there's some really good academic peer-reviewed research out there showing us now that some of the sexting behavior we see is normative sexual development. But in order for us older adults who still don't kind of get it, because it's important that we understand what the research, the terminology, and that's kind of what this article does.
Yeah, so it's a good read if you want to learn more about this terminology and this and what's happening online. It's a good place to start. So when you're reading, you're questioning news reports and such, talking about statistics, it's really important to go, okay, although there might be statistics saying that 1 in 10 or whatever amount of people are engaging in some sort of behavior, what do they mean by that? And this is a good way of kind of describing that.
Hey, Luke
Dela Cruz.
Luke Dela Cruz just gave us a shout out saying, hello Whiteheader. Hey, hello Luke. Welcome to the live show. Glad you're here.
I saw Life of Potterhead earlier had said, I like Brandon's oops this oof today. It's not a Whiteheader live show if I didn't oof something on the show.
That's true. It's kind of become your trademark, actually.
So thank you, Life of Potterhead, for being one of our
You know what we should do? We
followers.
should see if somebody identifies an oop from here on in, they should get something for it. Like we should send them a sticker or something like that, right? Like, I mean, it's just, it's one of those things. There have been a couple of shows where there were no oomps, but for sure, every so often.
It's not a Whiteheader live show if I
happens.
didn't make an oops.
Hey, listen, we did another survey, right? We did another survey with our preteens and teens, and again, we had Candace throw it out there. And what was that survey all about?
So again, this is another infographic that our Whiteheader team member Hervé did. Again,
shout out to Hervé. Woo!
Again, so we love polling our followers and asking, what do you experience in your daily lives, and so we asked our Instagram followers again, how many of you see your parents or caregivers texting while driving?
Yeah, and this one's a big concern, right? Because I mean, we're definitely seeing an increase in motor vehicle incidences, accidents, significant ones where people are being distracted by their digital devices. So we thought, well, why don't we ask the kids? Let's see what they'll say, right? Like, and the question was, have you? What was the question we asked?
Oh, the question was a simple yes or no. Yeah. Was have you seen one of your parents texting and driving? And the top there, as you can see, about 50-50. 50% say yes, 50% say no.
Which is a sad statistic.
Yeah.
Like you think about it, like I actually expected that to be higher.
I kind of did as well.
You know what? I thought we were going to be more in around the 80 mark. That's where I was thinking. So I was a little surprised that it was 50-50. But even then, 50% of parents are texting while they got their kids in the car, right?
Yeah. And then we asked them, if you answered yes, did you say anything to them when you see it happening? And
yeah, 59% said yes. Woo! Shout out to the kids that are willing to call their parents out on this kind of stuff.
Wonderful.
Right? Yeah, it was really, really good that they were actually calling them out. And, you know, with that, the third question we asked was...
the third question was an open-ended question.
Yeah.
We asked everyone, okay, what do you say to them? Like, what do you say to them? Here are some of the top 3 common answers people gave us. They said, say something like, get off your phone. That's illegal. Keep your eyes on the road. Distracted driving is bad, or you shouldn't text and drive.
Right on.
Amazing.
Good on calling them out, right? Like that. I mean, yeah, we're kids, and you know we're taught to respect our elders. But you know what? If the elders are doing something they shouldn't be doing, including parents, then we, you know, the teens, the preteens, the kids, they should call them out on that, right?
They also said some of the second more common ones were, "That's not safe. I'd rather you pull over than me die."
But how true is that?
Yeah.
I mean, how true
Very
is
true.
that? I mean, just unbelievable, right?
And the third most common response was take their phone from them or offer to text for them.
That was actually, I was actually kind of intrigued with that
Yeah, I
one.
was
It
too.
was kind of cool that the teens were saying, you know what, Mom, Dad, can you please stop texting? If you need me, I'll do it for you, right? So they were kind of offering their service to do it for them, right?
Yeah.
But you know, the saddest part of me in this questionnaire was how many of the teens, and we say it in red right there on the infographic, we had several teens stated that their parents just ignored their request to stop texting and driving. They just ignored them. Like, really, parents? Like it or not, the research is clear on this issue that when you text and drive, your risks of getting into a significant incident, crash, go up dramatically. And as a result of that, you're placing your kids' lives in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So, you know, stop it, right? We got to get our heads around this, right? And you know, I think down the road, you know, right now in BC, you're going to get fined. Personally, I hope that we get to the day, much like drinking and driving, where we give out 24-hour suspensions and we tow a vehicle. I think that in this province, we should be getting to the point now where if you get a ticket for texting and driving, you get one warning on it. You get the ticket, don't do it a fine. If you do it a second time, because police have a data back here in this province, the second time, not only do you get another fine, but we're going to seize your car for 24 hours. You do it again, we're going to seize it for a week. You do it again, we're going to seize it for a month. And you're going to have to pay for all the towing and storing, much like we do with alcohol right now. I think we need to start putting a little bit more oomph in the laws that we have to kind of get across to parents that, you know what, man, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Right? And now, you know, people go, well, you know what, there's laws on the books that say that murder is illegal and people still kill people. Yeah, for sure. But you know what, there still need to be consequences to actions. And, you know, I think more parents who all of a sudden don't have their vehicle to go to work or to do other things because they weren't being an adult and not texting and driving, well, then there should be a consequence. Because again, kids will also mentor our behavior as adults. And if we parents are texting and driving, guess what our kids are going to do when they get older? You can tell I'm a little passionate about this, right?
If you're a parent watching and there's a message you need to respond to, just give it to your kid so they can answer for you. Because they will offer.
Unless they're 3 and they start.
Okay, well, you know what? Maybe a 3-year-old, even a 3-year-old can probably send that text message. Maybe sometimes better than the adult. I mean,
sure.
I've seen some 3-year-olds who are pretty good with their technology.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it was a really, really, really good some feedback from the kids, and again, I expected it to be a little higher, so I do want to give a little bit of acknowledgement to the parents out there that are doing good, but yeah, I still think we have a long ways to go.
Tell us what you think, please. Ask us questions or leave a comment in regards to what you think about the things we talked about. In regards to, do you think that there needs to be more penalties in regards to texting and driving? Please let us know in the description and comments. We'd love to hear your response.
For sure, or even if you have other questions about digital or the internet and social media that we're not covering today's show, please, or what we do and where we go and that kind of stuff, then just send us a message. Like we'll answer it as we go. So what we got next in the show?
Our next subject is the inbox, which is we get messages all the time from followers.
All the time, and we love every one of them.
We do.
And we get them on we get them on email, we get them on Facebook, we get them on Instagram. Like we answer all kinds of messages from a lot of different people, not just the teens, but adults, teachers, parents, law enforcement. Now we're getting a lot of questions that I'm answering stuff, which is kind of cool, right?
So we like to highlight certain questions or comments people left us. And this is one that came across on, what's this?
Facebook.
Facebook.
This came across on our Facebook page.
Yeah,
This, I just, hi, I attended the parents presentation by Darren last year, and I admittedly did not do many of the safety practices I learned, but it was always something I had planned on. I just didn't think I needed it. I just thought I didn't need it to right now. I caught my son vaping on the weekend, and then I figured this was the time to check the phone. Thanks so much for all you do, because I would never have known about the decoy apps, what they were, and some of the things were discovered, which led to a really good conversation that then led to some better safety practices. Thank you. I mean, a great message from a parent, right? With respect to, they came to our presentation, they actually learned something, and then they applied what they learned in an appropriate and reasonable way with their kids, right?
And I mean, that's why we do what we do. And that's why we are a resource for, parents, caregivers, teachers, law enforcement, and even the teens themselves.
Yeah, I'd actually had further conversation with her in text on Facebook, and not only was she thankful about attending the parents presentation, learning about things like the decoy apps and stuff, but she also read the article that we wrote on vaping and found it quite informational to help her have a conversation with her son about the issues surrounding vaping, right? The realities are, what the research is now showing us and stuff, which was really important. So again,
we talked about that in one of our live shows, probably 2 shows ago.
Yeah,
or so.
2 or 3 shows ago.
Yeah, so you can watch that on the show about last 2 shows or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. A question from Luke. I'm going to let you do this one. He says, from Luke Delacruz, what is your opinion on EU's Article 11 and 13?
You know what? I'll probably mention that a little later in the show. But you know what? It's taken a long time for it to have its revisions, and the current revision that, as far as I am aware of, is Article 1113, is that it allows more leniency for creators. So for those of you who don't know, right now there's a movement afoot where governments are starting to consider regulations, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show. In regards to regulating social media, because social media companies have kind of free reign over the last decade or so.
We're going to talk more about that a little bit later.
And there's governments who are planning on putting regulations or already have regulations in place to kind of counteract this. But sometimes the individuals who are making these regulations aren't necessarily thinking them through in how the culture of the internet works.
I.e. memes?
Memes in regards to article. So a whole controversy. For those of you who don't know, but if you're a digital citizen, you probably already know about this because you've probably heard about it, right? Where Article 1113 that you would not be allowed to reproduce memes on the internet because it would be copyright violation.
You're kidding me.
I know, right?
Really?
So apparently in the current version, that memes.
Oh, just before you go, and for those parents who are watching this that don't know what memes is, go to our blog, and Candace has written a really good article on memes.
She has.
Right? And so it'll help you kind of put some framework to what it is Brandon's talking about. But sorry about that.
No, really, So, and resharing, and the biggest concern was with YouTube creators. So, I mean, like, we're on YouTube.
Yep,
right?
We are.
And the concern was...
Are we in violation of 11 and 13?
Well, actually, the link tax. Apparently, there's movements afoot where if you are citing a news source, you have to pay a tax for that.
Really?
I know, right? So, I mean, there's a couple things that don't make sense. And the one issue is that if all governments around the world are having these regulations for social media, how do they determine who gets what and how do segregate certain areas of the internet and social networking? So there's concern, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
We'll dive deeper into that a little bit later, right? For sure. So, Life of Potterhead just asked a question. How many interventions did you do now, or have you done now? For those of you who don't follow us, never in our wildest dreams did we think that our company would be kind of an outreach for young people and even adults now to reach out to us for help when they're considering self-harm or suicide as an option. And to date, we're now up to 191. We're up to, we just had our 191st intervention about 2 weeks ago now with another teen who connected with us as a result of our presentations. Something that we're very proud of, right? Something that we really are very proud of, and we're honored with the fact that youth and adults will trust us enough to reach out to us for help. And thank God to date, knocking on wood, we've been able to help every one of them to date, right? So there you go, Life of Potter. We've 191, and I'm sure it's going to go up more, but we're blessed. We love the fact that you can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, on a whole variety of different platforms. And tell your friends about us as well, because we're here to help wherever we can. And if we don't know the answer to a question, we know somebody who does. And the other thing that we pride ourselves on is that we will never, ever, ever judge you for what it is that you've done.
Very
thinking
important.
about. We will never, ever judge you. We're there to help, and that's what we pride ourselves on. So,
Yeah.
Next segment, Brendan.
Next segment is our In the News segment. So this is where we're going to talk about some news stories that popped up. We have a lot of news stories to go over that kind of popped up since our last show.
Yeah.
Some really cool ones, some interesting ones, maybe some thought-provoking ones.
Yep.
First thing we were going to talk about here on the show is for Shaw users.
Yeah, for Western Canada. Western Canada, Shaw is one of the big internet service providers. It's much like Rogers, but Shaw has now come out with Blue Curve, and Blue Curve is an app that you can put on your phone to help control the Shaw router. So that now parents can do it remotely and simply from their phones, where they can now turn off a phone at any time they want. They can set up time limits what they want. They can look and see what devices are connected to the home Wi-Fi system. They can program it so that if they want, say, the gaming console not to be active on the Wi-Fi between the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning, they have the ability to do that. So it's just another step in giving parents the ability to have some control over open Wi-Fi. Now, you just hope that your next door neighbor doesn't have an open Wi-Fi that the kid will connect to. And if they do, you need to talk to that neighbor, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to lock it down. But I just think that this is just another good tool in the toolbox to help parents manage the uses of Wi-Fi or the access to the internet and social media in the home, right?
Yeah, so it's a great little tool. I'm sure we'll probably be talking more about that in the future when we do some more testing ourselves to figure out how it works. So look forward to that.
Great option for those of you who are watching who are on Shaw to kind of get some control over the use of Wi-Fi in the home.
Next news study we were going to talk about is this one here.
Yeah, this came on Apple's last live event. I'm going to let you talk about this.
Yeah,
one.
sure. I mean, Apple is getting into the streaming game, much like with Netflix and Amazon Prime and all
Disney's
that stuff.
coming out now, too.
Disney, I don't... That's going to be interesting for consumers. Like, which one do you pick?
I know. I know.
But anyways, Apple is throwing their hat into the game for offering a streaming subscription service, much like Netflix, and they're apparently partnering with Sesame Street to produce content. And Sesame Street, years ago used to be about teaching ABCs, right? Right. Here are ABCs and all that stuff. So apparently,
near, far. Near, far. I grew up with Sesame Street, right?
Yeah.
Or the count. 1, 2, 3. Anyways, and Grouch. Grouch was one of my favorite Muppets on Sesame Street and that kind of stuff.
I like Cookie Monster.
Oscar. Yeah, Oscar. Cookie Monster.
I like Cookie Monster.
So does your mom.
Yeah, she does.
Loves Cookie Monster, right?
She does.
She in herself is a Cookie Monster, right? She loves her cookies. But anyways, back to this.
Yeah. So apparently now, instead of doing ABCs, Apple partnering with Sesame Street on their Apple TV Plus platform is they're going to be teaching entry coding.
How cool is that? I mean, how cool is that?
Digital ABCs, right?
Yeah, unbelievable, right? I mean, this year, I read an article, there were 182,000 openings for coders in Canada, and we can't fill all the positions. I mean, it just, it's the ABCs, like you said, of the digital world. It's the binary language of the internet.
Here are your ABCs, here are your ones and zeros.
Exactly.
Right?
Right? And so what a great opportunity that I think Apple has recognized to get kids involved in coding. Because I don't know about you, but a lot of the schools I go to present at right now, it is amazing how many kids will come up after our presentations, because we talk about this. Like, where can I get coding? Where can I learn it? And there's some schools now that are building coding classes right into the curriculum as well, right? So this is really cool that Apple is doing this, and those who subscribe to the Apple platform are going to be able to have access to it with their kids. Right?
Great. Smart on Apple to kind of think, again.
Kind of exciting, actually.
I want want to watch it.
I know, right? I know.
Anyways, we have a question in from Ryan, I see.
Oh, let me read it and I'll let you answer it. Hey, I'm a student from Frontier Middle School. Darren was there a month or two ago, and I have a new phone. What is the best recommendation for the password length? Mine is usually 6 digits long.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 digits at minimum. That's what we recommend. And make sure it's complex enough.
Yeah.
Please make sure it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
Right?
or A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah. So yeah, just 6 digits, something unique, something random. You're good.
You know, one of the things that I say is pick a phrase. Make sure the phrase has at least 6 letters in it, and then shrink the phrase into one word. So like the White Hatter, right? So 3 separate words. Shrink those three words into one word, and that now becomes the password.
I recommend putting a number in there.
Okay, well, let's go.
Maybe a symbol.
Well, here's what I actually do. I go a step further. So I take the phrase, shrink it, capitalize the first letter in each one of those words, replace any letter E's with the number 3 and any A's with the @ symbol. I mean, it's a really good formula to create.
Now that's the one you recommend. It's
Right.
not the one you actually do.
No.
Because I mean that would
No.
be like
Yeah. No, but it's
Telling the world.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I use a 6-digit password
Yeah.
on my phone, right? That's what I do.
Yeah.
So pick one that's not going to be like you say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 or A, B, C, D, E, F, G or 0, 0, 0, 0, 0,
1, 1, 1, 1,
1, 1. You know, mix it up, right?
Yeah.
And maybe throw a letter or two in there. Yeah, throw a letter or
Wonderful.
two in there. Yeah.
next news story we're going to just quickly talk
yeah, I
about.
wanna talk about
It's
this.
it's a follow up from one we've talked about before.
We actually spoke about it.
Last
on
show?
our Yeah, I think it was
last show. So you can watch the last show to get more context of this. But essentially, the chair thrower in Toronto.
Yeah, this is a really good
back
example.
in the news.
Yeah, where we talked about, what you post online is public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and sold for sale. And it forms a part of your digital dossier,
Yeah.
your digital footprint, right? And so this 19-year-old girl, some of you may remember, not too long ago, I think it was about a month and a half ago, she was videotaped on Instagram throwing a chair off of a balcony of a high-rise in Toronto where it landed on the street. It was lucky.
Significantly dangerous.
I know. Lucky nobody got seriously injured or killed, right? Now, she was arrested. They finally got her identified because of the video. Again, once again to show that what you post online can come back to haunt you. And so she's being charged criminally, but as a result of this thing going viral the way it did, she was actually registered to take dental hygiene in a post-secondary, and she got kicked out of the program. Right? She got kicked out of the program because of what it is that she did online.
People do need to realize the things you post online on social media, even if it's public or private, if it can negatively affect an employer or institution, that there can be consequences for that.
For sure, right?
So-
Now, on the flip side of the coin, we also say to students, especially in 10, 11, and 12, we want them to leverage their social media, right? To use it in such a way where colleges, universities, employers will go, hey, I want to hire you and not me, right? Because your social media gives them a deeper insight into who it is you are. And that's one of the things that we do with students now, where we now offer this program, right? Where we can go into high schools and teach students how to leverage social media, right? In a positive way, not a negative way like this story does. Because, it would be amazing. It would be interesting to go back in time to ask her if she knew what would happen to her today, if she would have done the same thing. It would be interesting to hear her story, because I'll be honest with you, I've been following her and what's going on with her, and I still think she may have done the same thing. I do, right? Like, she is showing no remorse whatsoever in what it is I've been watching and hearing. She's laughing about this. She's getting some notoriety because of what she's done. And with that notoriety could maybe come some benefits to her down the road, which is unfortunately, but you know what? If she's convicted and she ends up with a criminal record, good luck in traveling outside of the country. Good luck in trying to get some jobs, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be consequences. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good.
For sure.
So things to think about. And we talked about in the last show that you can read and learn more about this situation. In the last show.
Yeah, and anybody who's interested in the leveraging program for high schools, 10, 11, and 12s, go to our website, which is
whitehatter.ca.
whitehatter.ca, and under school programs, you'll see the leveraging program right there.
And that's taught by White Hatter, Shal, Karen, and yourself.
That's right. Yeah, three more people, and it's something that we just launched in February of this year. So we've done a couple now, and we think it's really going to take on fire because we think it's the next step in the evolution. It's important to have a strong foundation of security, privacy, and safety, what we do right now. But now let's teach the older kids how to leverage that social media to work for them, right? To get them into that college, that university, or that job that they want.
Definitely. definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Next news story we're going to quickly talk about, because we kind of talked about it earlier.
Right.
This one here, in regards to Canadian government considering regulating Facebook and other social media platforms.
Now, I'm going to lead on this one. You know what? I actually think it's about time. Because you know what?
Certainly.
We've been giving these major social media platforms, including the one we're using right now, YouTube, all kinds of opportunity to self-manage themselves,
Yep.
right? And some are taking some action, don't get me wrong. I mean, but it's slow, and it all comes down to money, right? Because it's going to cost money, and that comes out of the shareholders' pockets and stuff. So, you know what? I do think it's about time that government looks at some oversight on this, to put some legislation in place.
Yep.
To kind of force these major players to do more. But with that comes some issues, right?
We talked about it in the beginning, right? Article 13, right? And so, yes, there needs to be regulation in telling big companies that are collecting all our data
Yep.
what you can and cannot do.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep.
But I think there's sometimes an overreach or a panic or a not thought through plan on when you put in certain regulations, not considering in a holistic approach.
Yeah.
Going, okay, Facebook.
Good word, holistic.
I like that
Good
word,
word,
right?
good word.
It's like, okay, Facebook, you're not allowed to be producing, or we're going to clamp down on copyright.
Right.
Which, by doing that, yeah, sure, the big platforms now have to do their due diligence, but then makes it much harder for individual creators to produce their own content.
Got it, yeah.
So, and then it benefits large media organizations and not individual creators. So,
Good point.
the-
Are you sure you're my son? That's a good point.
it's a whole issue right now.
It is. I think like anything else in this world, it all comes down to balance. And I think right now the scale is tipped too much in the favor of the social media vendors. And so as a result of that, we need to tip that balance back to the middle. So are we going to see governments maybe come out with a hammer and hammer them? Yeah, to go to the other extreme. And then do I think from there we'll find a balancing point? Yeah, I do. But it's going to take some time. But I do believe that there needs to be more oversight by government and legislation put on some of these vendors, because unless it's going to hit them in the pocketbook, then they're not going to change their behavior. I mean, you know, as we know, TikTok just got hit with a $5.7 million
The FCC?
fine.
Yeah.
By selling information that they were collecting from the kids and selling it to third-party vendors, right? Without notification of that they were doing so. So yeah, you know what? $5.7 million is a pretty good kick in the butt, kind of thing. Maybe with TikTok, considering I think they're a multi-million-dollar company.
Now there's a lot of ads on TikTok, which
I know,
annoy
right?
me. But
So, but I do think the time has come that government needs to get involved. But one of the things that I find is that too many in government who are trying to pass this legislation don't know the technology or the platforms, right? And
they might be a little older, perhaps.
I do watch, I'll admit, I do watch U.S. politics. And it was amazing when they were doing these Senate hearings and they had Facebook and all these other big players coming in, how some of the older senators were asking questions on things that...
How do you make your money?
Like
ads.
Oh my God! Like it's like hello, right? If you're going to legislate, then at least educate yourself first on this and before you speak. So I do think this is another reason why I think that we need to let the generations and the millennials also play an active role in creating this type of legislation. Because I do think that far too often legislatures look to other adults to help them in formulating legislation, where in fact I think Generation Z and millennials, you guys, have a lot to offer as well. And I think there should be some more consultation and stuff going on with that generation.
I think things will get better in like maybe 10 years when millennials are now getting into potentially more higher level
Yeah,
politics.
like yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like yourself.
Anyways,
Yeah.
things to think about.
But I do agree. I do agree that that government needs to start stepping in some more, for sure. Love this next article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know those are some concerning things to talk about beforehand, but
Yeah.
again, we really like to emphasize the positive, creative side
Yep.
that social media offers us.
For sure.
And this story here is fantastic.
What a great story, right? You know, I attended a presentation where it was a group of parents who had kids that were experiencing developmental challenges, right? And they were very concerned about the amount of time that their kids were spending online rather than face to face.
Yep.
But I think what this article does, and the research behind this article, really proves a point that all humans, not just adults, but kids as well, we want that human interaction. And if we aren't getting that human interaction at school or outside of the home, then that individuals will turn to social media to create community. And this is exactly what this is all about, where they're talking about those who have disabilities who maybe get targeted, unfortunately, because that's the reality. We see this in schools all the time, where because you're different, sometimes you do get challenged and it's harder to make friends, that they will turn to technology and social media to create that sense of community. And within that sense of community, really positive things can happen. Again, one of the things I say to parents is it's not how much time the kids are spending online, it's what they're doing with their time online. And if young people and even adults with disabilities are going online and participating in a participatory, in a meaningful, in a creative way, then that's a good use of their time, especially when it comes to creating community.
Certainly.
Right? What do you think?
I completely agree. I mean, what the internet, social media, and these platforms provide is opportunities for things that you may not have normally had opportunities for. And acknowledging that and acknowledging those benefits that some people, the internet can significantly change their lives, their self-worth, their happiness, because it provides them something that they may not have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, right? And so, what I like about this article is I think it will cause parents, or at least I hope it will have parents of kids who fall within this group to maybe think a little differently about why and how their kids are using social media to create that community, right? I think it's a really good read. It's on our Facebook page, and what's our Facebook page again?
At White Hatter Team.
At White Hatter Team, right, on Facebook. Go over there, cruise over there, have a read of the page. Don't forget to like the page as well. But read the article, because I think it will help some parents get a different perspective as to what and why the kids that fall into this category are maybe spending more time than usual online. Hey, Dela Cruz asked another question from the last segment that we talked about copyrights. He said, speaking of copyrights, Universal Media Group is getting out of hand for creators on YouTube.
Yeah. I completely agree. YouTube itself has a broken system, so anyone can make.
Even though we're using it right now.
I know, right? Okay, a little background for all of you. So the music you hear in the beginning of the show, that's paid for. We pay for it. We have a license for that.
We have a license for it.
We can use it. Yet sometimes we still get claimed for that, and then I have to spend a week and I have to email the YouTube system going, no, here's my license. We can use this song. Here it is, and then
we pay for it, right?
We pay for it. We have a license. We can use it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But the thing, YouTube does not know that. And so sometimes it thinks it's, even though I already proved to it before that it's good to use. No, YouTube has a broken system.
But having said that, there's some really cool things that go on YouTube, and here's a good example of what we're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
What's the next article? Oh, this is one of my favorites because it kind of falls into my wheelhouse.
I wonder why.
Go ahead, read the headline.
Old online and fed on lies. How an aging population will reshape the internet.
That's me. I like to call us, do you know it's my birthday this week? Do you know how old I turn?
How old do you turn?
I turned 54. I turned 54 this week. And, so I'm still young, although you don't think I am. You know. So I'm still young. But you know what? As I move on in years, into the 60s and 70s, I want to create this group called the Silver Surfers. That's us, the Silver Surfers, right? The older people. But
isn't that trademarked?
Well, it was a cartoon once upon a time, right?
Yeah, isn't that trademarked?
Well, whatever. We're the Silver Surfers, right? But what's amazing though is that seniors, Silver Surfers, are now becoming the largest group online that are now coming online.
Yeah.
They're the biggest, what you like to call in academia, cohort of people joining and getting into social media, right?
They're influencers.
Yeah, they are. But with that, what have you now identified as one of the millennials?
Oh, this article does a good job. Great. There are more people going online at all ages. There is. One of the concerns is that an older population might be more susceptible to false information online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's no different in terms of anything, anywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Usually, an older population usually is more susceptible to
For sure.
scams and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
So, in regards to false information being shared online, it's more likelihood that an older population will reshare and talk about this false
Yep.
information as if it were true, because they may not necessarily have the skills or tools to do due diligence and figure out, is what I'm reading actually true?
And not fake news,
Yeah.
right? Fake news. And, you know, it's kind of cool to see how now some schools, I've seen this a couple times now, where schools are actually bringing seniors in and having the kids at the schools teach the seniors, right? What a really cool way for youth to connect with the older generation, the seniors and that kind of stuff. We as a company also offer programs, you know, where we can come in and teach groups of seniors on internet and social media safety. It's all about education and doing it in a way that is easily understandable, right? And we have the ability to do that. But I just thought it was a really good article because, again, my generation, I'm the baby boomer, but we're starting to get on in years, and, you know, a lot of us are getting more comfortable with the tech. I still need to turn to my digital Yoda here every so often to help. But I'm also thinking about my parents, right, that generation, and how they're now coming online at older ages, and they need just as much training and education in this topic area as we do. But what's really cool, one of the reasons, you know, talking to seniors, one of the things that they say to me a lot is the reason they're using it is because it allows them to stay in contact with their family, right? Their grandkids, their great-grandkids, their kids. Because that's what's really cool about social media now, is that it has the ability to do that. And they're spending more and more time on there. But because of that, they're also becoming targets for some of these online predators, right? And that kind of stuff. So we need to educate them as well. Great article.
Certainly.
What's the next one we got here?
Next topic is always a trending topic.
Every month.
You're right. About every month we
It
talk
is.
about something about this.
Yeah.
So here is another article here in Canada. Another school. This one is in Harbour Grace, Newfoundland, and Newfoundland. Sorry,
Is that where Candace is from?
Sorry, I just had Candace Amir say to me, it's pronounced Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
Sorry, Candace. All right, she's from there, so, you know. Anyways,
Hey, Candace, did you kiss the cod? It's called squeeched? Oh, screeched. She got screeched, and she's talking in our ears right now, so.
Anyways, here's a school that enacted a policy to ban all phones at their school.
Again. Remember we talked about this with the Ontario government and how there's
Ontario government, a school here in Victoria. It's
It's all over the place, right, with respect to this. But, you know, this school had a zero tolerance in place where they weren't going to let any phones, but now they've kind of walked that back now, right? You know, we travel internationally. We've spoken to hundreds of schools. And what I have found is that schools who have either banned the use of cell phones in the class or have what we call a free range movement where they let the kids do anything they want with any kind of controls in place, both don't work. We have found that schools where they have found a balance in allow devices into the school, but they're controlled with the ability of consequences to actions if kids are using them inappropriately, right? So, you know, and the reality is that kids who become good digital citizens will have an advantage when they come to post-secondary opportunities, college, university, and jobs. So what better place to teach us than in a school?
Most certainly, I completely agree. And reading this
Like,
article in depth, the school said on their Facebook page, supposedly, that the school said these devices continue to be a major distraction and behavioral problems for students, interfering with learning. Now, my first question is, why is a phone being allowed for personal use during class time?
Exactly.
And that's the crux. That's where these arguments kind of come down to is phone use during instructional learning time, outside of learning.
Right. And this is a big deal, right? But, you know, parents have a part to play in this as well. Like, you would be amazed at how many educators we've spoken to who said, Darren, you'd be amazed at how many parents text their kids in the middle of class. Like, it's extremely disruptive. Parents, stop doing that. If it's that much of an emergency, then phone the school secretary, because he or she knows more than what's going on at the school than probably the principal or teacher does. Like, we as parents need to start kind of playing a role in this. But there's no doubt that schools who have found a balance between the use of using phones during school with the permission of a teacher under specific circumstances where there's a code of conduct in place with policy and consequences to actions is important, because those phones that those kids have are not a right to have, they are a privilege to have. And kids will always push boundaries, like they do. That's what they do. That's what I did, right? But that's why putting proper goalposts in place and getting kids to understand that as long as you operate within these goalposts, things are going to be good. Because hello, when they get older and move into the adult world, they're going to have those goalposts there. And if they do something they shouldn't be doing at work, they're going to get fired because of it. So why not start teaching that digital literacy again at the school? And this should be teacher-led. It really should be. But it should be, everybody should be on the same wavelength. Because if you got one teacher doing something and another teacher doing something totally different, the kids will play off against one another, right? So those schools that have done a really good job have proper policy procedure in place. All the teachers are on board, and they're all singing off the same same sheet of music, right? Which we think is really, really cool. Right, for sure.
Certainly. And you were also mentioning earlier to me about doing a full-out ban might have some consequences, because what about those students who need a phone for medical reasons?
A good example, we had a parent because this article is on our Facebook page, by the way, so go ahead and read it. But we had a parent say, you know what, Darren, we have a young person, our child is in school, they're a type 1 diabetic, and so they need to be monitoring their insulin all the time. So as you know, there are some really cool devices on the market now that you can connect right to your smartphone on your body, and it continually gives you live updates of what's going on with your blood glucose and insulin, right? So there's a good example. Now, in the Ontario policy that first came out, where everybody said, Ontario, the Ford government is going to ban, well, no, they didn't. They actually said the teachers could still use it in class for educational purposes, but they also built in an exception for medical issues, right? But now, if you're going to do that, if you're going to allow a student to have an exception for a medical reason, well, you better be able to communicate why to the other kids. Because if you don't, the other kids are going to get their backups up, because kids being kids, they're going to go, well, how come he or she can have a phone and I can't? Well, that comes down to education again, right? And this takes effort, right? There's no doubt the schools that have implemented a really good digital use or cell phone use policy in their school, it took effort and time, right? But they decided to take that effort and time, and it's played some big dividends. So I'm not a big believer, as you can probably imagine or gather, that I'm not a big believer in banning, 100% banning them in schools. I think teachers should have the ability to still allow students to use them as an adjunct to learning, right? Or a reasonable, appropriate, and under teacher supervision. And if a kid does it when they shouldn't be, there should be a consequence, whatever that consequence is.
Certainly. Completely agree.
Passionate.
Enough said.
I'm passionate about that.
Are you passionate as well? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. We want to know. Like, if you're a student, does your school allow phones in class, and why and how so? We want to hear from you. Please let us know in the comments, and you can
Or if you're an educator who's watching, and you disagree, let us know why. Like, it's okay to agree to disagree and have civil discourse over it, right? Because that's what it's all about. It's all about discussions, opening minds, and maybe changing positions. Because I'm very open to changing my position. I really am, on all kinds of different issues. But that's where discourse, of being able to sit down and discuss things with one another, plays a significant role, right?
Totally. Next subject we're going to mention, our Breach Watch.
Oh, this is your specialty, right? You really love this area.
Yes, I'm always very interested in staying up to date in terms of what's happening in the security world online that can affect our security and our privacy for everyone of all ages. First thing I want to talk about, this has kind of popped up in the media often, is and once again, Facebook. Once again, Facebook's in another trouble.
Having said that, I love Facebook. I do. You just got to understand what it does, right, and how it does it.
So another news article posted, talked about throughout the month, of another Facebook app, another third-party company created an app and was collecting user information, much like the Cambridge Analytica thing, all that stuff. Here's another situation where a third-party app had information that was leaked online because it was collecting user information from Facebook. It was older data, but older data can still be used to make future predictions. So basically, we see this like every show. We talk about Facebook and a breach in almost every show. Almost, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, here's what we say, very simple. No matter what platform, no matter what app, no matter what your privacy settings, just remember that everything you post online is public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and it's all for sale.
Yeah, simple enough.
If you just remember that basic rule, then it helps you to understand, be very careful about what you're posting online.
Certainly. And also, that goes into our next topic, is it may, though, be permanent on the network, but it does not guarantee the network will keep that data forever.
Good point.
Which comes into my next thing I want to quickly talk about is MySpace. For any older viewers out there watching the show, you may have had a MySpace account. You may have used it. Yes, MySpace is certainly not a prominent platform right now, but this is a good sort of case study talking about how MySpace had essentially had moved its servers where all the data is being kept. It kind of moved stuff, and during the move, there was an oopsie.
Oh, you know what those are.
Yeah. Right? There was an oopsie. And apparently about 12 years worth of user content was accidentally removed and lost.
Gone.
And you might think to yourself, it's MySpace. Why should we care? Well, we should care because if you're looking at platforms right now like YouTube, Facebook, all these platforms that we're currently using, mistakes can sometimes be made there as well. And I just want to emphasize that please, if you are a content creator, so if you're like us right now producing things for the internet and YouTube, don't rely on that platform to keep a copy of that content for you forever. Always have a backup somewhere physically so you always have a copy.
I mean, we as a company, you've built up not only a primary but a secondary backup onto our system, right?
I have about a 4-stage backup process for our data.
And because we learn, right? We learn by situations like this, that just because you are storing things in the cloud doesn't mean that something might not happen. Well, what happens if the server farm, which cloud, burns down? Yeah. And what if they didn't back it up someplace else, right? So that's why we build in redundancies for that very reason. Or another good example for businesses, what happens if you get hit with cryptoware, right? And now your primary server is being absolutely de-anonymized, right? Where it's totally encrypted. It's nice to have a secondary there so you can go to it, right? So
definitely.
Yeah.
Anyways,
really important.
And speaking of data, these stories are all kind of related to each other.
They are.
Speaking of data, last kind of not really a breach watch, but it's kind of a breach. It's kind of breachy in terms of.
It's more of a privacy thing when you think about it.
Yeah,
it's more of a privacy.
Certainly. This article. It's actually a research article that was done. That was conducted a research on a kind of study on this organization had purchased 100 used USB devices, data devices, on eBay, 100 in the US, 100 in the UK, and these were used data devices, and they did a deep analysis in figuring out, okay, we purchased these supposedly emptied, wiped user data devices, and about 2/3 had contained previous owners' data on it.
Go figure.
So, yeah.
I wonder how many also had malware in it, right? Like who knows?
Who knows? So a couple things. One, if you are wanting to resell any of your used data products, like smartphone, computer, anything like that.
Photocopier, good example. Most modern photocopiers now have hard drives in it. And so there were a number of businesses who resold their photocopiers, didn't pull out the hard drives, and people got them, actually downloaded some very confidential information that were on those hard drives, right?
Things to think about. So before you resell any of your devices, make sure you are doing a proper wipe. Make sure the device is encrypted, make sure you wipe the device, and then encrypt it again.
Yeah, what might be really cool one day is maybe for us to go to a secondhand store and see if we can purchase some of these secondhand devices and just see what we can find.
That'd be a good video.
I mean, we know of others who've done the same thing, right? But a good example. So.
And if you're going to purchase a device, purchase a used device, make sure you do a good scan to make sure what you purchased, and make sure there's nothing malicious or maybe even illegal on that device.
Maybe.
It's just things to think about.
And important things to think about, though, right, in today's digital world. Things we don't think about that sometimes you just needed to be prodded every so often by people like us to think a little differently.
Latest tech products.
I love this
projects.
segment. I love this segment. I love this one. This one here, just it did my heart so much good, right?
We get
this next article.
We get to show off the benefits of tech.
Yeah,
and I think
especially what kids are doing with it, right? I love this one. This is this article, again, it's on our Facebook page, is all about a group of high school students who heard that there was a family who didn't have enough money to purchase a wheelchair or any other kind of mobile device for their child. They just didn't have the funds to do it. So this robotics high school class got together and they built this child a robotics wheelchair, kind of like the X-Men with Dr.
Professor X?
Yeah, Professor X. I mean, it's so cool. It's got a joystick and all that kind of stuff on it. But here's a really good example of how groups of youth got together with their educators, with their teachers, and saw a problem, and they used technology, they used coding, they used all kinds of really cool things to solve a problem, to help a person in need. And I mean, how cool is that? And this is something that we see all the time, and this is what leads into the next really cool thing.
Yeah.
Is, you know, how provinces, here's one here in BC now, where they're now starting provincial robotic challenges, right? Championships and competitions. And here's one that happened at St. Michael's University School here in Victoria, where students from different schools got together to battle it out with robots. I mean, so that's teaching them tech, it's teaching them coding, it's teaching them all kinds of cool things for the future.
it's teaching these students the skills to do what we talked about before, in making devices to help someone who needs it.
I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it also spins up, you know, look at the high school girl in Toronto who developed a digital cane to help the blind to see, right? I mean, it is so cool to see how and you know, far too many often, we adults, we need to start acknowledging the fact that these younger people, the millennials and Generation Zs, the majority of them are doing super, uber cool things online. They really are. And we older adults need to start acknowledging that fact more, in my opinion. And so this is just another good example how youth got together to use technology, digital robotics to help somebody in need. I mean, and how cool is that?
Yeah.
And right on to those students, and right on to the students who are getting involved in robotic competitions here in this province. I think that's so cool.
Indeed.
Yeah, for sure. What do we got going next? Oh,
That
here we go.
is the end of the show.
Woohoo! Oh, look at
Giveaway
those.
time.
Can I see those Star Wars things again? I mean, I just love it every time. It's like, look at those
Fireworks?
things. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So,
Anyways, this is the point in the show when, if any of you are longtime followers of the show, you know that we do a giveaway.
We do.
And this month, we did a giveaway on Instagram. We didn't do Facebook this month.
No, we didn't.
We found out not too many people were responding to our Instagram giveaway.
No, Facebook giveaway.
Facebook, yeah.
They responded well to the Instagram.
They responded well to Instagram, but they didn't respond well to Facebook.
That might change when we do a Facebook Live event. Maybe
Yeah,
sometime down the road, right?
Yeah. So anyways, we had asked a question to our followers on Instagram. The question was, what tech device do you want the most and why? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we had a bunch of responses. And they're all in this hat. Candace printed them all out, and she cut them all out, and they're in the hat.
So I'm going to do the drum roll as usual, and then you're going to pick one. Ready? Here we go.
All right, here we go. All right, and we got this one. All right. From user msilver369,
Ooh.
I want an iPhone 10 or X, so I am not stuck with this old iPad.
Woohoo! That's what I have. I have an iPhone XS Max. That's what I have. I love my iPhone. Hey, didn't she just get a brand new iPhone 10?
Yeah, she got the iPhone XS or XR.
XR or XS?
No, the XS is the small. Is the XS the X?
This is the big one.
She has the XR.
Oh, does she?
I think
Cool.
I can't remember which one it was, but yeah. Anyway, so
She loves it because she can do the animojis now. She loves being that unicorn, the talking unicorn.
I'm
and that
stuck
kind
with
of
the
stuff.
8 Plus.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Get with it, dude. Like, I'm the older person. I have a better phone than you. How does that work?
I like my button.
Okay. Yeah.
So M Silver, we will send you a message on Instagram to get you the giveaway, which is our special large White Hatter stickers, which you can only get. I actually have one here on my laptop. It's our extra
that's a good
large.
sticker.
So extra large. We only
sticker.
we only give them away during the live show or other special events.
Yep.
So yeah, we will contact you and give you the swag.
Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations. Well, there we go. Another show, another month, another show. We love this. I mean, we've been doing this when's the next show?
Next show is on the 19th.
Ooh, 19th of May. What's the theme going to be then? Candace, what's our theme going to be?
What's happening?
She doesn't know.
What's happening? What's happening
Maybe
now?
a summary type of a thing because we're moving into May. May showers bring May flowers.
We'll figure
Maybe,
something
maybe
out.
we'll have more flowers on the set or something.
We'll figure something
we'll
out.
figure something
Anyway,
out, yeah.
so stay tuned for that one. And if you didn't win the giveaway, make sure to follow us on Instagram because that's where we will post the giveaway again.
Yep, for sure.
There'll be a question, you have to comment, and then you'll put in the draw, and then...
Tell others. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button,
Yes.
right? And tell others about this. We love the show. We love it if you guys want to send us ideas as to what you may like to see us talk about on the show.
or any cool tech projects you are getting involved in.
because we want more. We want more. We really want to promote all the positive things that teens and preteens are doing with technology in this world, because I think far too often the older generation concentrates on all the bad stuff, and,
Far too often.
and we think that we need to start concentrating more on the positive stuff and start acknowledging the fact that the majority of you are doing super uber cool things. For sure.
Anyways,
So,
that's the show.
On behalf of myself, Darren,
And Brandon and Candace behind, thank you for attending, and we'll see you next time.
have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy Easter for everybody, right?
Thank you.